Hey guys, let's talk about the originals. And man, am I glad that I stuck with this show. It is so good right now. I mean, I did not think I was going to like it. And I'm like so interested in it. I can't believe it. So, this episode I knew was going to be an epic fail for Rebecca and Marcel. I mean, the second you are plotting to take down Klaus, you know that it is just not going to end the way you want it to, and it is going to end in an entirely different way. So they come up with this plan to turn all of their vampires and into rage against Klaus. And they do this with the help of Tyler. And he tells them that Haley has his unborn child in his belly, and if that baby is born, then that baby will be able to make all of these hybrids, and Klaus will rule the world, basically. And they're all like, okay, so then the baby has to die. But Rebecca pretty much just wants to put her brother down. And in order to do that, Marcel enlists all of his vampires to do the job. And I'm telling you guys, when that scene happens and they bring out all of these vampires to fight Klaus, it was amazing. I mean, it was so good. The choreography, like the takedown, the villainous actions, like the killing, it was just so good. Like there was probably 50 of them standing around him, and of course you're rolling your eyes because you know Klaus is going to win, but when he does, and he does in such epic fashion, it's amazing. Like at one point they have him chained up, they've got his arms strapped to these chains, and it looks like they've got him, and then all of a sudden he looks up and you can see like these werewolf eyes slash with the veins coming out of his like out of his eyelids, and you're just like, and even Rebecca was like, oh shit, and she drops like the sword that they can use to kill well, not kill an original, but put an original down for years upon years, and she drops it because she just knows that the jig is up and this is going to mean trouble. And right before the fight happens, Klaus pretty much says, listen, anybody who wants to take this coin, if you do, then you were on my team and I will protect you until the end of time, basically. And he puts the coin on the ground, and Marcel says, if anybody wants to take this coin, you can do so of your own free will. Go ahead. And nobody moves. So when this fight is going down and Klaus is just ripping people's heads off, he's stabbing people, he's killing everybody in like epic fashion, Rebecca turns to Marcel. Well, right before he does this, Klaus yells to Marcel and he says, Marcel, come and end this. And Marcel goes to run at him, and Rebecca stops him and says, don't. He's going to kill you. Take the coin. And Marcel's like, what? No. And she's like, do it. He's going to kill everybody. He's going to kill all of them. Do it. And it is like brilliant. You just see him kneel down, and he picks up the coin and he says, like, end this. He says enough. And Klaus looks over at him and he says, well, well, well. And you're just looking at it going, oh my goodness. And Marcel just looks up at him and he's like, I plead allegiance to you. And you're just like, oh my goodness. Like you just knew Klaus was going to be the victor in all of this. But the way it went down was awesome. And he pretty much says, well, I need a new place to live. And Marcel's like, listen, you can have this. You can have everything I have. You can take my kingdom. You can have it all. But you will never have them. You will never have their loyalty, because unless you compel them or you have used the compulsion to mind trick them into doing what you want, nobody will be loyal to you because you don't know how to be loyal to somebody else. And that is the true essence of Klaus. He has always been out for number one. Yes, he always feels that he's been like the black sheep of the family, but he has done some horrific things. He has stabbed his family members repeatedly. He has just done so many brutal things that when the scene at the end happens, there's a part of me that's like, Klaus, cry me a river. Okay, and I'll get to that in a second. While all this death and destruction was going on, Haley and Elijah were back at the cabin. And we all remember from last week's episode, Elijah had been bitten by Klaus. And because Klaus is a hybrid, it pretty much gives him this poison where he started hallucinating. And when he was having these hallucinations, we found out that through a flashback that Elijah was once in love and with this woman named Celeste, who was a witch. And in these flashbacks, we saw that because Klaus was so jealous of his brother having like romantic feelings for somebody else, he pretty much turned the neighbor in on all these witches, and she ended up dying. And of course, this broke Elijah's heart. And once again, it proves to Elijah that anybody that he cares for, Klaus will find a way to destroy. And so this obviously is a way for him to push Haley away. And we all know that the two of them are connecting a lot and that they're most likely going to end up together. But when he gets back to the home and Klaus pretty much rips a strip off of him and Rebecca for doubting him and thinking the worst of him, we realize that Klaus is just like a sad, sad boy. And he wants to be loved, and he doesn't want his family turning on him. And the reason why he does a lot of this ridiculous stuff is because he always feels like his back is up against a wall. I mean, do I really believe all that? I mean, like I said, Klaus has done some horrific things. And as touching as that scene was at the end, and I know that, we are seeing different layers of Klaus, which is fine. I just know that for me personally, after everything I've seen on the Vampire Diaries, and just how I know that Klaus is, it's always short-lived. It's very short-lived. And the fact that, he does have feelings for Cammy, and he's really kind of looking out for her is like the only glimmer of hope we have with him in this series right now. He has compelled Cammy so many times because he claims he doesn't want her to find out the truth about her brother, Sean, who killed all of the priests and everybody in the church. And he's compelling her so that she won't dig further and further into what's going on. But of course, Cammy has a mind of her own. She knows that he's compelling her. What was very interesting was the fact that she basically said to him, listen, I know that you're compelling me to meet with you. And then I know you're compelling me to forget that we had these meetings. And you're really doing it because you need me to talk to you because you have nobody else to talk to. And I thought that was a really good scene because it's true. He has no friends. Like, he's just so disloyal, and he can't be loyal to anybody, and in turn nobody can be loyal to him. And she pretty much like rips a strip off of him, and she's like, listen, you're wasting my time here. He saw a drawing that she had, and he was like, well, you can work on that on your own time. She's like, this is my time, but you're compelling me to be here. So I thought that was pretty good. And then of course Klaus goes to see Father Kieran, and he's pretty much telling him like, listen, you need to send Cammy out of town to save her life because I can feel that there's a war on the horizon, and she's just digging into some information that is going to lead to nothing but badness and her death. And he's pretty much saying that he cares about her and he doesn't want anything bad to happen to her. And of course, Cammy is digging into some things, and we find out that this drawing that she had was like, she's basically every time she's losing her memory, she's writing down letters and to sort of remind her of what it is that she's ultimately up to. And it turns out that she ends up realizing that she has a clipping of Marcel and Klaus back from 1919. And now she's like, I know these two men. I know who both of them are. And so, of course, she's digging into stuff, which is not going to end well for her. But it was also very interesting to see it play out. And then we got a little bit of Josh, which was kind of funny because he's a little bit of the comic relief in this. And we all know that he was compelled by Klaus, but then his compulsion was taken away. And now he's working for Marcel again. And, it was kind of funny to see him going back and forth, basically just knowing that either one of these guys could rip his throat out at any point. But, he has no choice at this point. He's a compelled man, and he has to do what he's got to do. So another really good episode, guys. Oh, and we also found out that that this woman was watching Haley when she was back at the cabin, and it turns out that she's one of her, ancestors, part of her family tree. And she explains why there's no other werewolves around, and it's pretty much because Marcel pretty much scared them all out of town, and he had a witch put a spell on them, which I found this was very interesting, that he basically reversed what a werewolf can do. That they can only be human when there's a full moon, and there are werewolves all other times of their life, and they're being tracked by people. So, they're running all over the place because they're werewolves at this point, and only time that they're human is when there's a full moon. So I thought that was pretty cool and a nice, interesting twist. So again, they're really giving us lots of info in this show. We're getting some good backstories on all of these characters. We're really fleshing them out. Like at this point, I don't really see one person as the villain. They're all evil on the show. We've all seen it. And, Klaus is always trying to cry himself a river. But I still think that they've given him a lot of layers where you can feel a little bit of sympathy for him, but not a lot. And then Marcel, again, he pretty much gives up his whole kingdom, and who knows what's going to happen to him going forwards. We didn't have any of Sophie Devereaux in this episode, which was fine, and we didn't have any, I don't think we had any of her in last week's episode, and obviously the show can do without her, but I'm sure we'll get more of her as future episodes come about. And unfortunately, Tyler got his neck snapped by Rebecca and was put into a cave, so he was really short-lived on this episode as well. But guys, another good episode. I'm really liking this series, and I can't wait to see what happens next. All right, guys, I'll see you next week. Bye.